is the Ghetto Free Press, and we decide we'll flip the switch to economics. Economically speaking, you all must have been translated by the Anapana standards, which is perpendicular to the part of news, which is some semi-African object, which an individualist could not understand because of the barbarity and transitory derivatives of the universe, which states you simple mind incomplete with no thoughts whatsoever and can't comprehend the flavor of my nature. Now what did I say? Nothing. It may sound good, but it's nothing. And so we can be involved in activities, we can go to church, but until we begin to get into the economics of what makes a community ticks, our children will always feel the jails, prisons, and death row, and the probation rolls. We cannot listen to the hogwash that you just heard. We got to get down to the facts and the basics of what runs the government, and truly, millions of dollars coming into Valdosta. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And we are practically locked out. Wouldn't you say, Doc?
All the way. All the way. You know, when we go to talking about economics, we'll look at economic aggression. Economic aggression, okay? That promotes a frustrated behavior in our community. Economic aggression. That means that you're deprived, you're angry, you're literally pissed off because you're broke and you ain't got no money. And you can't find none circulating in the neighborhood. So you go out, you slang a little dope, you
sell a few food stamps.
Yeah, and sell little shanty house booze.
Yeah.
And work underneath the table. From economic aggression and frustration. See, it's like pseudo-science. See, pseudo-science is a form of psychology. It's a method used in psychology in a science called pseudo-science. And what it is really not a science at all. It's something that's a high probability that maybe it could be, maybe it was, maybe it's not at all. Okay? See, we've been hoodwinked by that. And we live by those barricades and rules and false illusions and constructed regulations, where things are constructed to fit your community, to keep it run down in a slum area, to keep other businesses from finding your neighborhood attractive enough to invest money. See, when Adam Smith, back in the 1700s, came up with economics, he said it's not the massive land that people own, but it's the economics of the fluid, the demand, what you call it, the supply and demand, based upon something systematically of the labor force. You hear what I said? Now, the labor force. Now, we holding jobs in our community. We getting welfare in our community. All right, I said welfare. That's still money spent. Now, we got people that go out, they'll sell these stamps. They'll trade these stamps.
For a little or nothing.
And that money, we'll criticize that, but that money ends back up into the hands of Walmart. That money ends back up in the hands of Winn-Dixie. That money ends back up on the legitimate side. Some of it be from buying marijuana. Some of it might be from buying cocaine crack. But that money ends up back in the hands of McDonald's, Burger King, pharmaceutical companies. It ends up back in the legitimate side of the picture, but we criticize it. But nothing is really aggressively done. So therefore it brings on this animosity. It brings on this silent frustration that we have to deal with from day to day. And then we got where the economic aggression occurs because we'll go out and I'd say, for example, I don't have the bunnies, but I do a big barbecue this weekend and have a big dinner. Now, at my dinner, I'm done. Monday morning, I got to start back over again. Now, the guy that lives downtown that's got a real good job, that's not suffering from the agony of living in the ghetto, and got the best of the job, making $35 an hour. Got 401k. Well, when he threw his barbecue, he got something to look forward to because he got a 401k. I don't have that. Then we got the guys who is economically oppressed all the time. So it's how we gonna view this. How are we going to create a resolve? Our city council members, our mayors, our governing factors of government lies to us. They set all this up and they lived in this fantasy world because they are operating on pseudoscience. From those points of view, where something may be, may not be, it's a high probability, and it might not be at all. So we deal with the scenario of HUD, a fixation to get us over the hump, get us over the hill. In every major city we have a project. And people have homesteaded in these projects ever since they've been developed back in the 40s or the 50s or whenever they come into play. People have worked to say, I'm just trying to get out of the projects. Why is that? Because we are psychologically enslaved in our mind. We are not slaved by the chain and shackle, but we are psychologically enslaved. That's what we are, though. Psychologically enslaved. Not in our hearts, in our minds. See, when we first got free, Brother Rand, this is what nobody don't want to talk about. We didn't have nothing in our heart, okay? Because we have been stripped of our families, so that love thing was ripped out of our hearts. Okay, let's talk about the psychological part now. We didn't have nothing in our minds because we didn't have no education. All right, let's talk about it. And we sure didn't have nothing in our pockets. Freedom was just dumped on us. We had to sleep on the trees for a year. This is what history says. Just to get a meal. Sleep outside in the cold just to get a meal. Second year, you would get a place to stay.
Well, that's one reason a lot of slaves went right back to the plantation.
Yes, sir.
You know where to go.
Nowhere to go. Third year, you was given a small wage. Now we become trained to be servants. So when you go punch the clock Monday morning, remember you's a servant. Because you were psychologically enslaved to believe you shouldn't own a high rise, but you should have a job and pay your Social Security. That's a fact.
And the lending institutions have set it up so you can't leave the modern day plantation. You and I have worked under HUD, under the VSAIL in terms of trying to help the low economically oppressed contracts and other folk to get into the system of getting some of these dollars. And when they go to the banks done shut them down. And even you brought somebody in, you brought one guy in, he had some money. Yeah. Still couldn't operate.
Not only that, I'm so glad you said that, but then while I'm thinking about this, I need to say this. Curtis Head out of Quitman, Georgia, the owner of H&H Paving, was the low bidder on the contract.
Yes, sir.
And they said that
it's been documented.
Yeah, they said it was his mentor, right? Mm-hmm. And he had one little slight discrepancy in his paperwork. They said, oh, we wrestled with that. We couldn't rest that night. Oh, we tossed and we turned, but we had to take the contract from him. So they robbed Curtis of his contract. And that was a legitimate contract that would have put him on his feet, well on his way to getting on his feet. But they took the contract from him. Then we went as far as getting a guy by the name, it was PB Builders. His name was Beasley out of Tennessee. Mr. Beasley was going to bring at least $8 million plus for bonding that we could bid, and they were general contractors, and they teamed up with Cali Construction Company, and they had an office here for a year. So when we go to bid, they says, oh no, he can't bid as a prime contractor, not a general contractor on no major project, because he don't live in the city. But they allowed other contractors to come into this city and bid contracts and build our schools, and we could have bidded on the schools and everything, but they felt that we were trying to corner section of the market, and they still to this day, we are fighting, trying to get somebody to come in to provide us bonding. Bonding is always the biggest issue. So we had guys that go joint venture with this contract. Had plumbers, brick masons, rough carpentry, landscaping, everything, roofing, you name it, we got it on board. So when we go to put everything together and preparing to bid, they said you are not permitted to bid because this guy do not live in the city or don't live in the county. So we said, wow, well, but you allow someone to come from Jacksonville, from Minneapolis or wherever, other places, and bid to build our schools. Then when you do come in, and they come in, they build a school, they don't have no locals in the HUD zone area. So they don't meet none of the requirements. This is what we face and fight here.
So the people for whom the federal government set these programs up don't benefit from them.
None whatsoever.
And then when we have traveled up to the HUD office in Atlanta, Marietta Street, we get up there, you've been talking to people out in Mississippi, we're going to talk to people in Washington, and just like talking to a piece of firewood over there on that pile.
The community development block grant, okay?
CDBG.
Yeah, yes, sir. They take that and they utilize that, okay? And when and the way they utilize, they put it in place, and they'll tell you they're gonna build a school, they're gonna do this, but then when this actual construction starts, you is totally zoned out.
And then we sit on city council, we sit in the council meetings, unlike a lot of the preachers and pastors in this community. We sit there and we watch them sit up there with their ties on like they got our best interest at heart, black and white people. And they act like they're concerned about us. And what gets me is no negativity toward anyone intended. Black folk know what's going on because they'll talk to us behind the building.
Right.
But they won't talk out in public. Say, what the heck is going on?
Right.
This money not going to my district. And they know what's going on. And they all sit there like, we statesmen. And we don't have no better sense, the black community, and I'm black too, to sit there and let these people consistently get away with it. No newspaper will even report what we bring up in dealing with VSEP and HUD, and how Toomb Street is a disgrace to any city. James Wright talked about no sidewalks on Forest Street. You can't hardly get that in the paper.
That's true.
And so we in Valdosta are unlike America's Georgia with 5 newspapers. We only have 1 local paper. And it's so past conservative that when the president and the commander-in-chief of our children at Moody Air Force Base read the paper after he wins his 2nd term, they don't even have his picture in the paper.
Well, Doc, you see, this is the promoter of economic aggression, where the young man go down there and kill another, where they go down and rob a convenience store, because these are the promoters of economic aggression, man. And how are we gonna get beyond that? That's the big question.
Well, we're not gonna get beyond it, in my most humble opinion, and I've been doing this since '75, and I don't think we're gonna ever get past it until, I don't know about white people, I don't know about the poor white folk, but black folk gotta stop thinking as a slave. They gotta wake up. They gotta wake up and realize that, what am I going to a church for? Following a leader that can't get involved in nothing. We go to these attorneys, and when it comes down fighting the issues of our constitutional rights, they're not with us. They're not educating the community. I know they're doing great work with other things, but I just thank God for men like Dr. King, who wasn't so focused on money. He was focused on human lives, as well as preparing a soul that could meet God. But our souls are not going to be able to meet God if we don't have some money in our wallet, a job, and a home, because we're going to steal, cheat, lie, kill, and everything else. So, in other words, this pie got to be divided.
Well, I'm going to ask you this. What do you think about redirecting the little funds we do have?
Brother, that's it. But that ain't going to happen unless the pastors get a new mindset. You realize, now, black folk go to church. Even the worst devils there is, they're going to be in church. And maybe I'm included. But when it comes down to actually redirect, and see, we don't need no boycott. Nobody need no boycott.
That's right.
They don't need no marches. We don't even need no protests. All we need to do is for one black person to understand, as the Koreans are not going to come to shop with you and bypass this Korean store.
That's right.
Japanese are not going to go to you and bypass their Japanese store. Go down to some of these hardware stores. I've been going to Miller Hardware for years. And I'm going to continue talking about it because that's my First Amendment right. You walk in Miller Hardware, and if they can't hire no blacks as sales clerks or pimps or whatever it needs to carry on that business, I don't see no need of me spending my dollars there. The only time I go there is when I can't find it nowhere else. I'm not boycotting them. I'm just being intelligent.
But yeah, if what you're saying, if we redirect our funds, and it don't have to be about discrimination.
Right.
Okay. We'll say J.C. Penney's don't discriminate. We'll say that, right?
Absolutely.
But we'll say, Mr. J.C. Penney's, we're not going to spend no more of our money. We can do you come downtown and assist us and get some things straight, that we can get some justice downtown.
Absolutely.
And pick them randomly like that. I'll let Walmart know that we're not going to spend our money with you unless you come downtown and help us get things straight for all of us, small business, black, white, and all that. That we can participate in this thing and change this economic case. Because we got to find some means or some method. And you're 100% right about these stores that don't hire blacks. You shouldn't be spending your money there. But if we can redirect our funds, that'll limit this marching and everything else.
No, the marching not necessary. If we can get these black businesses that employ 800 people, and they all black, all the employees is black, and the owner of this business is black. We want to go. We ain't gonna boycott them, but we don't want to spend no money with that black business until they start hiring some white folk and some Koreans.
Yep, right.
You see, I'm like what I read in the Bible. God said I had no respect of persons. I know some people say the Jews are chosen people, but I read what God said. And God said He didn't have no respect of persons, and He said all souls are mine, not just the Jewish soul. Right. And I think that's what we got to do. We got to understand that. All I ever said, my grandma taught me was this: want for your neighbor that which you want and have for yourself. Right. And I added this later. I found this in the cosmos of time, space, and destiny, that even as a nation and community, we are not who we claim to be, but who we prove ourselves to be over a given period of time. Yep. And when truth comes into the minds of those who seek truth, all falsehood must vanish, and falsehood is forever a vanishing thing. That's why I stand on the points of truth according to St. John 8:32.
I hear you. But I think that the economic progression is about to play a vital role. Because people are becoming aggressive because the lack of money in circulation.
Yes, sir.
Man.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
And it produced this aggressive behavior. And in every form, on every level. And I believe that if HUD and these other organizations would really focus and hold these agencies accountable that's getting this money, make sure they spend this money in the areas they say they're going to spend this money in, and make it inexcusable if they spend that money any other place other than that.
But Doc, you know what I told, and after this I'm going to let you close out, I'm going to cut it off, but you know what? I told this to the HUD office in Atlanta. Personally, Doc, if they don't make any changes in HUD, especially in Valdosta, and redirect that money for what it was intended to, and even Councilman Wright knows this because he's talked about it. Doc, if they're not going to send the money, and only the rich and the famous going to get these dollars, man, including DOT, if they can't put something so we can get some of that money to keep our children out of jails, prisons, and off death row, and stop robbing convenience stores because one person getting all the economic pie, or one group of people getting all the economic pie, I'm for cutting the damn programs out, Doc. Cut them out. Do away with them. I'm like Republicans on that. If it ain't working, cut it off. Close us out, Doc. Close us out.
I understand what you're saying. You know, we got a school that was built for $18,400,000, and None of our local contractors got in on the projects. They're talking about. We got a bridge being constructed for like $70 million, and we don't got, but we got a local contractor that got the project, but not those small contractors. So then the school board put out that there's a school about to be built, and our contractors believe that they're about to get a big contract, and it's 5 years away. So they got them believing that something is fixing to occur that's not even occurring at all for another 5 years. And then they're depending on the splash money. And that's no good. So what we need is to ask HUD and all the rest of them to please hold these people accountable. Hold them accountable. And that being said, I'm going to close this out by saying that we are in dire need of money on the south side.
What you say going to happen to HUD if you got a few thing on cut off? What you say about HUD? If they don't
do what they should do, we not gonna withdraw. We gonna continue until we get some lawsuits filed, and whoever's involved, whether it's HUD or whatever form of government, we gonna file the charges because we know we right about this, and we got to have some change.
And you have filed some complaints
and I
already.
filed a complaint right now, and I'm waiting on the results to come. And I don't know what the issue is on it because I know it's a legitimate complaint, and I have a right because of Title VI.
Once again, this is the Ghetto Free Press. We're reporting what others ignore. Wow, this is the Ghetto Free Press, and I'm sitting down in Lake Park, chilling, thinking about Valdosta, Lowndes County, the state of Georgia, and the world. Video won't be a video without Doc Robinson, and we used to do a lot of these, just the two of us. We kind of backed up from it, but now we're going to walk up to it more. Doc, what's happening in your world, man?
Oh, not too much. Not too much. Just sitting out here enjoying the day, and had a pretty good Sunday morning at church there. Everything was pretty lovely at church.
Yes, sir. How did, who preached? Barfield preached?
Yes, Pastor Barfield, he preached today.
What was his message today, brother?
Well, he was talking about don't be a fool.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
That could be applicable to a lot of people at this dispensation. Start looking out, and we all are sitting down in amazement, kind of waiting for that second autopsy from the pathologist down in Orlando, Florida. We don't know when, what day, but they did say it'll be this week,
right,
when they will actually release it to the general public. I'm looking forward to that. I don't know how it will come out, but if this second autopsy comes out, and if it shows that the first autopsy was botched or anything along those lines, or if it was okay, I can accept both of them, because I just want to commend the Jack Johnson family just for standing the course, man. Even if they don't find it, just having the courage and the opportunity to stick with it. I just think that's powerful.
Those families, that family of people, is demonstrating the love that's unrenowned. They are doing what a parent would do. If you believe, I just thought that something happened to your child out of the ordinary. After all, when you send one of your children off to school, you was expecting to see him come home that afternoon. You ain't sending them out not to return home.
Right.
So they are right for what they are doing, regardless of what the outcome would be. Now, you know what raises my suspicions about things?
What's that, Doc?
Is that when you have been issued a restraining order, now this is something that maybe everybody needs to take a deeper look into. For you to be issued a restraining order to stay off the school campus and the school grounds in Lowndes County for no reason at all, that means that maybe you was getting close to something. To stoop to that level, to that low of scrutiny, for you to be screened out. The Valdosta Daily Time wasn't screened out. The WTV,
yeah,
Channel
NBC, ABC, none of the other news media outlets. Right. No radio station Anchors or nothing like that.
And the day that they pointed you out, you wasn't even in your vehicle, you was in a rental car.
That's true.
That means that they was deliberately watching for you particularly. Okay? Now, in order for them to be watching for you, that means that somebody is trying to hide something. When I went to them and asked them, why was you barred? I was told specifically that your name had been coming up. Okay, they didn't elaborate on the reason. And but your name had been coming up, and that there was something against you. Okay, and something was in place. A restraining order. Then the last time I talked, they said that a restraining order, in fact, was taken out against you.
So there was something. They said it was something.
Yes. Now, that means that someone has something that they didn't want you to get close to. Okay. Now, in a case of this kind, to me, that's involving a cover-up.
Wow.
Okay? That means that if depositions be taken of any kind of you, that means the deposition has to be taken of the school superintendent and the sheriff's department to why would they issue such a warrant for you, and you hadn't did nothing no more than coming on the campus, especially behind this issue here. Okay, never before.
No. Only after his death did I guess that I become on the radar screen. I don't know.
And of course you did, because they was afraid. I understand this is something. This is merely hearsay.
Okay, right.
And I got it from my grandson.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and my grandson is a student at the school. He said that the teacher was instructed to shut up about it.
Yeah, I heard that too.
Okay?
Yeah.
Now, and if they said anything about it, that they would lose their job.
That's
that
right.
means now start adding them together. Okay? They don't want discuss. They don't want no shame brought up on the school, for one.
That's for sure.
Okay? Because they got all the exploitation is for the big football games. Right? ESPN. So they don't need no negative stuff about the school. And it's a possibility, for some reason, they need to clarify themselves by getting you in and letting you know what the deal is. If not, in my personal opinion, they're trying to cover something up.
Yeah. Well, I've been through a lot. I have been involved in security service in the military. In fact, I was in security service headquarters. I served a tour. I have an SSR clearance, top secret clearance. My credibility, my reputation, everything was above reproach until May the 25th of this year. Was the first time I ever had any member of any law enforcement agency to do something like that. And I served during the Vietnam era. I was in Okinawa, Japan. Communists, well, I won't get into that. But the bottom line is this here. This was really unique for me, Doc. I never been through nothing like this before. But I'm ready for the challenge. I'm ready for the challenge, brother. I'm not gonna stop recording. I'm not gonna stop doing what I do. You know, I'm not intimidated at all. If anything, I'm energized now to go deeper into what I already have and kind of been holding back because of the professional flavor of my nature. But now I have gotten to talk about the May the 8th, 2010 taser death in the jail. I've called Judge Kelly's Turner name and Sarah Crow, where an inmate actually did a DVD, and I held that secret, waiting for the right day. But when if they can do all this to me, the day doesn't come. In other words, it's D-Day now.
I understand, and I can't fault you for being bitter, because you know when you're in journalism and the freedom of speech,
First Amendment rights. First Amendment.
It's just strange that this had to happen the way that it did, and for you to be screened out of all the people. The reason I'm saying it is because I actually come to film my granddaughter's graduation, and this is the day that occurred on.
Right.
And then all this activity was going on with KJ, and
I've been involved in all the marches.
That's right.
All the planning in Atlanta, every aspect of the movement. I've been recording because we can't rely on the South Georgia News media.
Exactly.
So I've been, like you say, the reporter or the journalist covering that case, along with the 14-year-old lady that was a young girl that was handcuffed, or the 24. In fact, the day before they got me, that deputy. Okay, go ahead.
Well, you know now, according to the coroner first report, that he said that the crime scene had been compromised.
Yes, sir.
That's what's online.
Yes, sir.
That's not a secret on that. Now, if these type incidents have occurred, that means that they could not afford you to be snooping around asking questions. In other words, it would be a scandal just with your section involvement with this. If this come out and it be found that it was foul play and they were trying to cover it up and stoop to such scrutiny to take an innocent man and bar him off to show how low they would stoop.
Well, Doc, there are people. I have the greatest respect for former President Lee Touchton, NAACP, and others who have came out. Reverend Rose, I believe that he is a man that he just wants the evidence to lead the way. And Lee Touchton, I'm hoping that she's the same way. And I'm mentioning their name because I got a right to and I want to. But I'm just going to put it on record, I've already done it. But if the autopsy report comes back, and if nothing is out of the ordinary from what the G.B.R. and the first autopsy said, I'm 199% still with the Johnson family. I'm with them because of what I already know that have transpired here in Valdosta, Brooks County, and surrounding counties with the murders, the killings, the abuse of the denial of constitutional rights and the inhumane conditions in the jail, and especially what the Brooks County voters said, the G.B.R. intimidated black folk in Quitman. Secretary of State Brian P. Kemp sent an investigator down, Glenn Austin, I think his name was, from Macon, and yet today the people are waiting from July the 17th until today for the Secretary of State to answer questions concerning voting irregularities in Brooks County, and they haven't heard nothing. So, although some people that I've worked with for decades believe that hundreds of law enforcement officers would not do anything wrong, well, I just don't know, because I know when I interviewed those people in Brooks County about what happened to them during that Equipment 10+2 and alleged voter fraud, I won't put nothing past the forces that works against God and against His children.
Well, you know now, everybody are entitled to an opinion.
Yes, sir.
Okay? And people casting their opinion is only an opinion.
Yes, sir.
But the truth and the facts outweighs opinions.
Yes, sir.
When it comes down to proven facts. And this thing come back, and we'll know then it was only opinion.
Yes, sir.
Okay? The bottom line is that you are doing the work of a journalist. Okay? And you can't be held liable for one way or the other because this is the act of journalism. It's part of it. And sometimes people will go a bit further than they should sometimes. But that's just the nature of circumstances of how people are.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? But the fact of the matter is, sometimes we'll draw dramatic conclusions prior to waiting to see what the end result will be.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that's basically what only happens with that. Everybody's entitled to their opinions. And the deal is that, my opinion is this, is that I'm like you. I'm with them one way or the other.
I'm with them, and I made that clear on the record and off the record. I do that under the record. To see Mr. Kenneth and Jacqueline stand up for a family member and for the whole Tulip family, thumbs up, thumbs up, Tulip family, for doing, going all the way, not backing down. There is nothing that can ever make me condemn you for that. We supposed to love our family members. Of
course, man.
And this ain't nothing but love.
They demonstrating what Black America is missing.
We used to have that, Doc.
Oh,
we lost something.
That's agape, baby.
We lost some.
And if we could just have that kind of feeling toward one another, see, I don't want to switch off to economics, but it would change things dramatically economically.
Well, look here, let's do a clip on economics.
All right.
Look here, we'll be back in a minute.